The house at the end of Willow Lane was always a whisper. For the kids in the neighborhood, it was a test of courage. Run to the porch, slap your hand on that peeling blue door, and sprint back before the old man could catch you. For the adults, it was a different story. They'd just look away, change the subject. The old man, Silas Thorne, was a ghost in his own house, a gaunt, silent figure you'd only see at twilight, watering roses that were nothing more than thorny skeletons. For Dr. Alistair Finch, the house was a puzzle. As a cognitive psychologist, he specialized in trauma-induced phobias, and his new case was a 7-year-old boy named Leo who had simply stopped talking. The only way Leo communicated was through his drawings. They were intricate, frantic, and always of the same thing: a room, a perfect cube with a single, impossibly high window, and on the floor, the same pattern every time, a spiral that seemed to pull you in and push you away all at once. Leo's mother was at her wit's end. It had all started, she said, right after he took a shortcut past the Thorne house. Alistair discussed the case with his colleague, Eleanor, over coffee. It's a classic anxiety projection, he explained. The mind creates a contained space to represent a fear it can't process yet. The house is just the trigger, not the source. But the puzzle was about to get a lot more complicated. Leo's drawings started to change. A new detail appeared, a small black dot in the center of the spiral. With every therapy session, that grew larger, more consuming. And Leo's silence grew heavier, more absolute. He would just stare at Alistair, his eyes holding a quiet terror that felt ancient. Driven by a mix of professional curiosity and a deep, nagging unease, Alistair decided he had to visit the source. He went to the house on Willow Lane and knocked on the peeling blue door. He approached Silas Thorne not as a doctor, but as a concerned neighbor. The old man opened the door. His eyes weren't cloudy with age. They were unnervingly clear, sharp. "You'll hear about the room," Silas stated. His voice sounded like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Alistair's blood ran cold. He hadn't told a soul about his theory. "I'm here about a boy," he managed to say. Silas offered a thin, cracked smile. "They always are. Come, I'll show you the garden." But he didn't lead Alistair to the backyard. He led him into a small, windowless study. The walls weren't lined with books. They were covered with hundreds of framed drawings, childish sketches, more refined adolescent renderings, and precise diagrams from adults. All of them depicted the exact same room. The cube, the high window, the spiral. "My father studied it before me," Silas whispered, his bony finger tracing a yellowed sketch, "and his father before him. It's not a house, doctor. It's an echo, a psychic stain left on this place." Alistair's scientific mind was screaming in protest, but the hair on his arms was standing on end. "What is it?" he asked. "A thought," Silas replied. "A single, perfect, terrible thought that became so heavy it just stuck in the fabric of this place. It doesn't think, it is, and it feeds on the minds that perceive it, especially the young, the open-minded. It shows them its home. Their mind tries to draw it, to understand it, but the thought is the spiral. To comprehend it is to be pulled into its center." Alistair let out a brittle, nervous laugh. "You're describing a mimetic cognitive hazard, an idea so toxic it acts like a virus. That's science fiction." Silas gestured to the wall of drawings. "Look at the progression." Alistair looked closer. In the oldest drawings, the spiral was a simple, loose curl. But over the decades, through countless different hands, it had tightened, growing more precise, more hypnotic. And then he saw it. Silas somehow had a copy of Leo's most recent drawing. The black dot in the center had started to resolve into something else. It wasn't a dot at all. It was a pupil. The thought had grown an eye, and it was looking back. Alistair fled the house, his rational explanations crumbling like sandcastles against a tide. He threw himself into research, but he wasn't in psychology journals anymore. He was digging through archives of parapsychology and local history. He found reports stretching back a century, all from that same neighborhood, all describing children who suddenly fell silent. They always recovered, eventually, but the descriptions were haunting. They were empty, changed, their youthful curiosity and brilliance snuffed out forever. A terrifying realization hit him. He rushed to Leo's home. The boy's mother met him at the door, her face glowing with a relief so profound it was heartbreaking. "He's better," she breathed. "He spoke this morning. He said he wasn't afraid of the room anymore. He said he understands it now." Alistair pushed past her into the living room. There was Leo, sitting on the floor, calmly coloring. He wasn't drawing the room. He was drawing a simple, pleasant landscape with a big, smiling sun. He looked up at Alistair and smiled. It was a perfect, placid, utterly empty smile. "Hello, Doctor," Leo said, his voice flat and toneless. "The noise has stopped. It's very quiet inside now." The horror that washed over Alistair wasn't for Leo. It was for himself. In his desperate research, in his obsessive focus on the drawings, he had done the one thing a person must never do. He had tried to process the unprocessable. He had looked directly at the thought. That night, back in his own study, Alistair found himself doodling on a notepad, almost unconsciously. His hand moved without his command. It started with a square, then a window set too high up, and then the first faint curve of a spiral beginning in the center of the page. His breath hitched in his throat. He tried to throw the pen down, but his fingers were locked around it, like it was a part of him. A profound alien quiet began to settle in his mind. The usual chatter, his theories, his doubts, his memories, it was all being gently smoothed away, like ripples on a pond, becoming perfectly still glass. In the growing silence, he could perceive it, not as an image, but as a sheer, vertical weight, a concept of perfect, eternal isolation. A room that wasn't a place, but a state of being. His phone buzzed on the desk, a message from Eleanor. "Alistair, where are you? Your 9 a.m. is waiting." He looked at the words on the screen. They were just shapes. The concept of 9 a.m., of Eleanor, of waiting, they were distant, trivial things. Flimsy ideas fluttering at the edge of the vast, silent gravity well that was now anchored in his soul. With immense, draining effort, he used his free hand to type a reply. His fingers felt clumsy, like they belonged to someone else. He focused on the simple, physical action, a last lifeline to a world that was fading into nonsense. He typed, "Cancel all appointments. I am conducting a deep introspection. The findings are profoundly quiet." He hit send. The phone screen went dark, reflecting his own face. In his eyes, he saw no fear, only a terrifying, placid acceptance. The spiral on the notepad was half finished, but he didn't need to finish it. He was already inside. The thought had found a new, mature mind to inhabit, to silence, to understand it from the inside out. Outside, the world carried on with its noisy, chaotic business. But in the quiet house at the end of Willow Lane, Silas Thorne watered his dead roses, listening to a silence that was, once again, slowly beginning to grow. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Stay curious,